The Fremen of Dune are the ultimate survivors, living in one of the harshest environments in the entire universe, a desert planet called Arrakis. Their power as warriors comes more from their mindset and their endurance than it does from their physical training. Today, I'm going to break down how the Fremen's desert-born resilience can influence your training, nutrition, and mindset. This is Legends Forged, where I break down the training, nutrition, and mindset of warrior creeds throughout fantasy, and see how we can apply their philosophies into our own training regimens. Today, like I mentioned, I'm breaking down the Fremen of Dune, desert warriors who rely solely on their own endurance and survival capabilities. Before I continue, remember to subscribe so that you don't miss any warrior regimes that I break down in the future. Let's get right into it. Fremen don't train for aesthetics or even war in the traditional sense. They train for survival. On Arrakis, their desert planet, every movement counts, so wasted energy can mean the difference between life and death. The Fremen method of training focuses on endurance, adaptability, and efficiency in the most extreme conditions. Inefficient movement wastes energy and resources. Fremen know this, and so they move in the most economical way. This applies whether they're moving across sand or fighting in close combat with crysknives. And so this type of efficiency needs to apply to both their physical conditioning and their approach to combat. One of the most famous things that they do is called sand walking, moving across sand so that they don't attract sandworms. Sand walking involves careful, irregular movements designed to mimic the natural shifting of the desert. In a fitness context, this translates to agility and coordination training, movements that are meant to be controlled but also fluid. Efficient movement reduces risk of injury and conserves energy. This can be compared to functional training, moving throughout daily life in the most optimal way and preparing your body for all kinds of scenarios, or even better, climbing, hiking, or sprinting in completely unpredictable terrain. See, there's something about living on a desert planet that means that you have to travel long ways without any resources or water, which means you need to seriously consider building your own endurance. So basically, you're looking at building stamina in order to survive in extreme heat, high altitudes, and hostile terrain. The way you can look to implement this or mimic it is by running long distances or having long periods of physical exertion. Your goal during these movements is to conserve as much energy as possible. And to replicate this, try this circuit. The circuit is actually very simple and it starts with warming up. Go for 30 seconds on hill sprints and 1.5 minutes off just walking up the hill. We're gonna try and do 15 reps of every single exercise or until failure. I can only do around 10 pull-ups, and as the circuit goes on, I end up doing around 7. After sandbags and pull-ups, we're going to get into kettlebell thrusts. Then we're going to follow up with basic box jumps, farmer carries, medicine ball slams, and if you're angry, this is going to be the perfect one for you. And the circuit ends with this variation of commandos into push-ups. Now do that 3 times over at a minimum. Endurance training improves aerobic capacity, fat metabolism, and mental fortitude. And so in any survival scenario, endurance is probably going to be the thing that you need the most. And the way to endure more is by 1, moving efficiently, but also 2, training it. Due to their desert planet origins, their diet had to be shaped by extreme conditions. Water being the most precious resource on Arrakis means that their need to conserve it was paramount. So their diet would probably look like something along the lines of nutrient-dense food that requires low water consumption from the body. Root plants, figs, dates, all things that they ate, because they're donkeys, they also have access to milk, butter, and other such produce. Meat was found primarily on desert hare or chukka and was slow roasted or turned into stew, which was also paired with flatbread. Coincidentally, they also used the flatbread as their plates. Once the flatbread was all gravied up, they'd also eat that. So because of their scarce resources, they'd only eat twice a day. The first meal containing stuff more along the lines of the dairy products that we were talking about, and figs, dates, that sort of thing. Their second plate would be a bit more lavish, looking something like this. I don't have rabbit, I have steak. And frankly, I was starving for some steak today as well, so I'm gonna eat the steak. Making a meal like this is actually one of my favorite meals to make because it's a very basic stir fry. All I did was cut up the beef, some into very thin chunks, some into sizable chunks, just so I could get a different variation. And I fried that up with some garlic and some butter. Salt and pepper, obviously, to taste. I toasted some flatbread and let that sit in the pan juices for a little bit. Then I dumped the meat on the flatbread. After which, super simple, I grabbed my figs and all of the other vegetables that I had and I just stir fried them. Ending with the mandatory soy sauce. Makes everything better, to be honest with you. Dump that on top and there you have it. The meal is done. Most of my meals are very simple. I don't have the time to be sitting there and cooking for hours on end. I just want my stuff high in protein, really quick to make, and really easy. Let's do a little bottoms up. Here we go, guys. These motherfuckers in fantasy always eat paste or some nutrient shit. I don't imagine the Fremen ate exactly this, but something similar to it. God damn. Funnily enough, even though water was so scarce, we we can learn something from the Fremen in the way they conserved it. Using their still suits, they barely waste a thimble of water a day from their own sweat, reusing it all in order to hydrate them again. Water was even such a crucial part of their lives that when they died, they were broken down into water instead of being cremated or buried. Understanding this need for water would give us a baseline on just how important water is for the human body, and might make you think twice before deciding not to drink water for the day. If your head hurts, go for some water instead of those painkillers. Living in this form of scarcity means they always have to be ready to move, always ready to survive, because anything can kill them in the desert. In so many tales of fiction, there's a reason why desert worlds are known as death worlds. So as the Freemen would know best, their mindset needs to be rooted in resourcefulness and efficiency. This means understanding two things. You can't waste your energy on bullshit. And number two, hardship is a basic part of life. On one hand, the Freemen could have considered themselves as victims of the nobles and the desert. And yet on the other, they knew that they could just embrace the hardship part of life and become stronger as a result. Now, while we can't live in those conditions, we can train for them. And training for them does one very important thing to our neural pathways. It makes uncomfortable situations that much easier to get through. 3 examples of ways you can increase mental toughness is through endurance workouts, fasting, and heat training. And by doing this, we can learn how to face challenges with a calm, steadfast approach. Learning such things can be super effective for us aspiring warriors looking to mold ourselves into the characters that we wish to one day be. Now, it's time to put the Freeman way into practice. The workout I'm going to give you will test your endurance, adaptability, and efficient movement. To mimic the endurance required for crossing desert dunes, we're starting with weighted sandbag sprints. This will build explosive power and test your ability to carry weight while moving quickly. Do 3 sets of 40-yard sprints with a weighted sandbag. Focus on quick, efficient movements and controlled breathing. Next, we're working on agility and quick reactions, similar to how the Freemen adapt quickly to their environment. Agility ladder drills will help improve your footwork and coordination. Complete 4 rounds of agility ladder drills, focusing on fast footwork and precision. Finally, we'll challenge your endurance with an extended plank hold. This tests both physical and mental endurance, reflecting the Freeman's ability to stay calm and composed under pressure. Hold for as long as possible, aiming for at least 2 minutes. Remember, like the Freeman, this is about endurance, mentally pushing through discomfort and holding steady. Let me know how you do in the comments. The Freeman managed to survive on a planet where every drop of water was sacred. Every movement had to be efficient, and every movement could also be their last. Their training, nutrition, and mindset, while simple, had to focus on endurance, efficiency, and adaptability. And from this, we can learn that survival requires adaptability more than it does physical strength. If you're going to take away one thing from this video, take away this. The best movements leave no room for waste and are completely efficient. So there you have it. Now, if you liked the video, consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell. Like the video, and in the comments below, leave any warriors throughout fantasy or history that you'd like me to break down next. Until next time.